everyone, this is Neha and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a very long time since we last spoke and there have been like a lot of updates in my life since then. So last I was working in a backend job at Intuit, left that, got into Web3 and blockchain technology, started working as a smart contract developer on Solidity, spent some time on community roles, and then I just went full on crazy and started my own startup, scaled it to like 25,000 people, and then just realized that the idea is not quite there in terms of a PMF, probably a bit premature for the market. And then I shut down my startup, got a bit depressed, and then picked myself up, went to spend some time in the mountains, did the things I really love to do, enjoyed life, and now I'm here working with one of the fastest growing layer 1 blockchain technologies. It's a team which came straight out of Facebook, attempting to do something which has not been done before. So with blockchains, there's this problem of the blockchain dilemma, which just means that it's practically impossible to achieve decentralization, security, and scalability all at the same time. And this blockchain aims to change that by creating an infrastructure that can support scale for the masses on-chain. And this blockchain is known as Aptos. And my role at Aptos works around developer relations. So I'm back to YouTube creating a lot of amazing developer content and tutorials for you if you want to get started with blockchain technologies. Today is going to mark the start of a developer course dedicated to helping you folks build on Aptos. And for context, Aptos' smart contract language is known as Move. Yeah, no, pretty catchy, right? Today is going to be like a very short, chill, quick setup for your developer environment so that you can go ahead and get started with Aptos Move. So without waiting any further, let's get started. Okay. In order to set up your developer environment on Aptos Move, first things first, I'm just going to open up the VS Code. So what we're going to do right now is going to install the Aptos CLI. This is basically like the starting point to doing anything on Aptos Move. So you can just install the Aptos CLI with a simple brew install Aptos. I have this installed already, so it's probably just going to try and maybe update. Just going to wait for this to get over. And so it has just basically upgraded my Aptos version from a 3.5.1 to a 4.2.3, and you can actually verify that the Aptos package has been installed by running the Aptos -- version. And yep, I can see a 4.2.3. Now, if you are not a Mac user, how does this work? So if you're not a Mac user and if you're working with Linux or Windows, you can basically just come to the site. It's aptos.dev/build/CLI. I will basically provide the links in the description as well. And over here you can find the installation options for Windows and Linux. So you can just basically find certain curl commands that you can run in case of Linux, and similarly for Windows we have shell command that you can run. Just in case these commands do not work out for you, we also have an alternative backup method that you can go for. So this involves basically installing via precompiled binaries. So you can just go to the Aptos CLI releases page. This will just lead to this pop-up right over here, and over here maybe just like do a search for the CLI. So you can find this CLI releases over here. These are like more recent ones, so I would suggest to maybe not go for the more recent ones because certain modules might not be that compatible with these ones. But the version 3.5.1 in my opinion has worked pretty beautifully. But all you want to do is just open up this CLI release. You can find the assets over here which have been separated in terms of Windows or Ubuntu, so you can go ahead and install whichever one suits. And then basically you need to add it to your path variable so that whenever you write Aptos, it is able to recognize that command. And that's basically how you can complete the CLI installation. Okay, great. So now that we have the Aptos CLI installed, the next step for us is just to set up an account on-chain. So in order to do that, first let's create a directory. I'm just gonna call it make directory YT move course. Just going to cd into it. Fast. There you go. Amazing. So now what we're gonna do is basically we're gonna run this command called aptos init. So what does aptos init do? So aptos init allows you to create an account on chain. So when you try to run this command, it will just create this default profile for you and fill up the details for the account. So whenever you're trying to interact with the CLI, like by publishing modules, it will use that account in order to publish the modules. So when we're running this init command, we have this option to choose from the different networks laid out over here. We have devnet, testnet, mainnet, local, custom. So if you are familiar with other blockchain ecosystems, you would know that mainnet is basically like the production environment. And that means that you will actually need real faucet funds to mess around with this, so we are not going to go for that. And if you're going to talk about devnet and testnet, these are the testing environments where basically you can create your application, use the faucet, get some faucet funds, interact, make sure it's working properly as you wish, audit the code, and then basically deploy it on mainnet. Now, to make a distinction between devnet and testnet, devnet contracts and storage basically get reset every week. So when you are developing a contract that you are going to work on regularly, I would suggest that you go for the testnet approach. But if it's something that you're just building for a one-time use case and just to test out some stuff, then devnet would just work fine. So if you see, the default option here is devnet, so I'll just go ahead and click enter. It's asking me for a private key that you can basically import onto this, and if you do not give it an input, it will just generate a new key for you. So for me, I'm just gonna go ahead and create a new key. So it's just generating a key for me, and boom, you can see this Aptos CLI has created this particular account 0x22, and it has also funded it with these many octas. So octas is basically like microcurrency for the apt token. So one apt is equals to 10 raised to the power 8 octas, which is shown as here, similar to how you would see on Ethereum as well with ethers. So great, so now that we have this account set up, I'll very quickly like to show you how this configuration file looks. So in this directory, now that we have run this command, we'll find this .aptos folder, and under this we'll find this config.yaml file. So in this config.yaml file, you can actually see the account that we just created. It has a public key, it has a private key. If you notice on Aptos, the account address is actually different than the public key. So there's actually the account address, the public key, and the private key. 3 addresses here compared to what you might have seen as 2 addresses on the Ethereum ecosystem. And this is intentional. We have a key rotation mechanism in place on Aptos, which I'll talk about later. But for the time being, let's just focus on this particular account that has been spinned up for us. And if you see, the network has been specified as devnet. We have the REST URL, which is a full node on devnet. We have the faucet URL with devnet mentioned here. We have our profile now set up. Okay, so how can you actually go about creating move contracts on Aptos? So in order to do that, we need to run another command known as aptos move init name, and let's just call this YT course again, and let's just wait for this command to do the magic. So if you see on the left panel, all of the different files that it has basically spun for us. This is our directory structure. So we have the .aptos config.yaml file, we have the scripts folder, sources folder, tests, and move.toml. So move.toml, you can think of it something like a package.json in case of Aptos move, and this basically contains all of the information about the package. We name this YT course over here by passing this as the flag in name, with the version mentioned as 1. We have the dependencies, which is for the Aptos framework. Aptos framework, you can think of it the main standard code from which most of it will be just like importing in a couple of things. All of your data structures will be coming from this NFT standards or token standards. So it's just taking the current GitHub repository for that, and we'll be storing it as a subdirectory. If there's a very specific version of Aptos framework that you want to access, you can actually go ahead and change the details of the branches over here, and you will be able to access that as well. And in this dependencies array, you can actually go ahead and add local dependencies as well. If we move on to more advanced use cases on Move, I will definitely show you how to do that. And then we have this addresses and dev addresses. So these are just certain named addresses that we use in movelang. So let's say we can add something like a deployed address, which is like a 0x string. This can be something that, well, maybe you can just copy from here over here. And yep, so this is something that we can actually use as a deployed address in our contract. And if you see this dev addresses, this also takes the addresses, but this is specifically only for DevNet use case, similar to our dev dependencies. There are dependencies which are only defined for our DevNet use case. Now if you see on the left, we have a couple of more folders. Tests obviously will contain the tests. Scripts are basically similar to Python scripts. You can just import certain smart contracts and call those particular smart contract functions using scripts. And then we have the sources directory, which is basically the main directory that we'll be working with. The sources directory houses all of our smart contracts. And in Move language, smart contracts are known as modules. So in order to create a smart contract, you can just go ahead and just create a new file over here. So let's just say something like hello.move. And bam, and that's it. We have our first Aptos Move developer setup done and running. The next video, we're going to start off with coding out a very small contract on Aptos Move. It's going to be really fun, so stay tuned. Looking forward to seeing you for the next one. Take care. Bye.